All Hit Radio.
Welcome to the X Zone, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality. Now, here's your host, Rob McConnell.
Past midnight on Yates Street, the signal hums low. Static's alive and the shadows glow. Through the glass of the control room door, something whispers, we've been here before. Old footsteps echo the real sighs. The red on air, light flickers and dies. Through the hallway, a chill creeps deep. CKTB never sleeps. Ghosts on Yates Street. Through static and rain, phantoms whisper where the signal bleeds. Ghosts on Yates Street.
Now, there's a haunted song for a haunted show. My name is Rob McConnell. This is the X Zone. We're coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, on the shores of Lake Ontario. And we're about 15 minutes from the Rainbow Bridge that gaps Niagara Falls into the United States of America. If you'd like to send me an email, xzone@xzoneradiotv.com, and on all social media sites, Xzone Radio TV. And we're coming to you tonight on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, CanCom Broadcast Network, and of course on your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM. That streams us around the world on classic1220.ca. And the funny part is that from here to the studios of Classic 1220 is about 5 minutes. 5 minutes, and I do our show from our broadcast center here at the X Zone Broadcast Network, part of REL-MAR. And we're here Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. until 1 a.m. That's right, we're back to the 3-hour shift again. My wife says, Robbie, when are you going to retire? And I say, Laura, when are you going to stop spending money? You know, cause and effect. Anyway, welcome back, everyone. My guest this hour is no stranger to the X Zone. Joan of Angels is her name. And yeah, what's that you say? What are you talking about? Well, angels, of course. And Joan, always great seeing you, my friend. Thank you for coming back and joining us tonight.
I'm really happy to be here tonight, and I love talking about angels, always.
Well, why not? They are my favorite topic. I love talking about angels, and I think I shared with you one time that I've actually seen an angel. And the angel, just for the listeners who are joining us on our many new stations and network, I was born and brought up in Montreal. And as a young boy, I was about 4 or 5 when this happened. And do you remember back then, Joan, when baby food first came out in cans?
No.
Oh, wow, I'm older than you are.
I just remember
okay.
it in little bottles.
Okay, Joan, that's enough. Okay. I get it. You're young. I'm old. Anyway, she checks up with the angels and they're all laughing. Yeah, that was a good one.
I am laughing.
And my mother opened up this can of baby food. My brother is 5 years younger than I am, so he was just a little one, just starting to eat baby food. And my brother got violently ill. And my parents knew that they had to bring him to the hospital because something was really wrong. They dropped me off on their way to the hospital at my grandmother's, who just lived down the street. And my grandmother, knowing what happened, called all the family, because back then families got together and they supported each other in the good times and the bad times without having to go on their iPhone to see what the heck's going on, playing thumbtag. And everybody was expecting something very, very wrong, very bad. Anyway, my mother had called and given the family the update, and it was ptomaine poisoning from the can of baby food. Anyway,
You died from that.
that's right. That's right. And I remember looking in the corner of the kitchen. Everyone was off to the side into the dining room, and my grandmother and aunts were in the kitchen area. And I looked in the corner near the pantry. It was a walk-in pantry, and there I saw somebody that I didn't know, but all I knew was that this man was making me feel good. You know, he was white hair, blue eyes, wearing, I believe, a gown. And the message I was getting, everything was going to be okay. And my grandmother said, Robbie, what are you doing? I said, oh, I'm looking at the man over there. And the man wasn't there anymore. As soon as I said that, the phone rang. It was my mother. My brother had turned around, and everything was going to be okay. And thank the good Lord and the angels, so many years later, my brother is still with us. So that, I believe in angels. I saw an angel. And how many people, besides you and others, actually see angels and recognize them as angels?
And you saw them with your eyes open. Lots of people
Right.
see them with their inner vision, but not many people see them with their eyes.
Oh, I saw this angel with my eyes, and I've looked for him ever since. And I don't think I've seen him. So I just say thank you whenever I'm talking about angels, when I talk to people like you, that I'm a believer, and that's why I love talking about angels. So how did you get started with angels?
Well, I think I've told you before. I received, it was Halloween 2013, and I was begging for a miracle. I mean, literally begging for a financial miracle, just your ordinary financial, send me a check,
Sure.
angels. And I heard this voice that says, paint 33 angels in 30 days. It wasn't what I wanted. I wanted the check. Okay.
Right.
So I hear this voice, 33 angels in 30 days. I say no. I heard the voice again, and I said no again. But then the third time I woke up, and it was like, oh, wait, this might be my miracle.
Yeah.
And so I painted 33 angels in 30 days, put the paintings on the wall of the loft. Book falls off the bookshelf. Your call for angelic assistance has been heard. And that's all I needed to hear.
Wow.
And honestly, they started communicating with me. I said, what am I going to do with these paintings? They said, paint us and we will come. And sure enough, I had these big images, like 13 of these huge beings that came in. And I didn't know what I was doing. I just painted. I turned the canvas upside down. They told me what to do. And they gave me messages as I painted.
You know, I've heard of people who receive messages from angels when they're writing a book or something like that, but I've never heard of angels guiding a person to do paintings. And what did you think of? Was it like automatic writing except with a paintbrush?
Well, yeah, it kind of was. There was one night, there was a whole group of people in the house, and this guy's playing the violin for me. And I turned the canvas upside down, literally. And I don't know, they guided me in such a way that the paintings came out looking like someone painted them. But They told me that I was a paintbrush for the divine, and they would give me messages. They would like sort of plant images in my head and explain to me what I was doing. It was quite profound.
I would imagine so. Do you remember? No, I'm going to ask you again, and you're younger than I am, so here. Do you remember those Craftmaster paint by number sets?
Of course, I always had one. I love those paint by numbers.
Well, you see, you could come out with your own series called Paint by Angels.
Rob, I'm going to make you my marketing director.
There you go.
My product advisor, Paint by Angels.
Paint by Angels. Do you know? I've got a little bit of a twisted mind at times. My producer's starting to laugh. Yeah, I'll get you later, pal. I came up with something rather unique years ago, and I actually marketed it, and I made a good bit of money on it, called Pope on a Rope. It was a bust of the Pope, and it was made of soap that floated like ivory soap. So not only did it clean your skin, but it cleaned your soul.
Rob, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I need to come up with that. Yes.
There you go. Yeah, and I had a friend of mine who was opening up an ice cream shop that he also was going to sell sandwiches, and he said, Rob, what can I call it? I said, it's very simple. Lick it, eat, split. Like lickety split. Lick it, eat, split. There you go.
Definitely. Maybe you need to switch careers and go into product marketing.
No, thank you. I love what I do, because if I went into product marketing, I couldn't speak to great people like you every night.
Every night, yes.
Every night. As a little girl, when did your thirst for painting commence? What was it that kind of tapped you on the shoulder and said, Joan, try painting?
I'm going to tell you a secret, Rob.
Okay.
When I was about 10 years old.
So we're talking 20 years ago.
20 years ago when I was 10.
Uh-huh.
And I remember sitting in class, and I was like in 5th grade, and doing a self-portrait.
Yeah.
I loved the self-portrait. I was so proud of the self-portrait, Rob. I brought the self-portrait home, and my mother and my brother came downstairs right after that, and they said, Joan, we hope that you never decide to be an artist. You need to be a bookkeeper, or a teacher. So that's what they told me, bookkeeper or teacher.
But you
Never
are a
an
teacher.
artist.
But you are a teacher.
Well, I am, but I actually tried to go teach in public school.
Yeah.
And the kids set fire to my class. I discovered I'm not a public school teacher.
Well, wait a sec.
I am.
Hold on here. They set fire to your class?
They did. They set the trash can on fire. It was a science room. It was a science room. They set this. Yes. It was a disaster. I was not cut out for teaching in public school, but I am a teacher. And you know what? Doctor, because I'm actually Dr. Joan, doctor means teacher. And I always took that very seriously. I taught my patients all about health, nutrition, wellness. Just like now I teach you about intuition.
Yeah.
What's your purpose? What's your mission? How do you see an angel? I keep teaching.
You and I have got to take our first break, so please stand by. X-Zone Nation, our very special guest this hour is my good friend, Joan of Angels, Dr. Joan of Angels. So when you see in your arts and crafts store, Paint by Angels, you'll know that you heard about Dr. Joan right here on the X-Zone. Once again, her website, www.joanofangels.com. This is the X-Zone. I am Rob McConnell and the good doctor, and I will be back on the other side of this break as we continue investigating the world of the paranormal and the science of parapsychology right here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network and on your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM. Your hometown radio here in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada, and they stream us at classic1220.ca. What's that you say? What's that again? Very simple. Classic1220.ca.
Whispers, we've been here before. Old footsteps echo the real size. The red on air, light flickers and dies through the hallway. A chill creeps deep. CKTB never sleeps.
In the bitter Minneapolis cold, where snow and winter meet, Alex Pretty walked with open hands to stand beside the weak. A nurse who spent his life to help care for those in need. Not a soldier, not a threat, just trying to do good deeds. They called him names, they made their claims before the truth was known. But when the camera's on his side, Alex Pretty held a phone. He held a phone, not a gun, and just with every breath he drew, he meant to help, to calm the fear, not start a fight he never knew. They shot him down.
Welcome back, everyone. Dr. Joan of Angels is our special guest, but I love calling her just Joan of Angels. Her website, joanofangels.com. I guess the angels are pretty busy these days with everything that is going on in the world. I mean, we've got a war, we've got sick people, we've got homeless people, we have people who are sleeping in their cars because they're not getting their paychecks. How do the angels cope with all this stress that they're under?
Well, you know that the angels can handle multiple things, and they don't interfere. They watch. Maybe they, do a little wing fluff here and there,
Yeah.
twitch, but they have a lot to do right now. I am sure they're over there overseeing the war.
Right.
I have spoken to many soldiers who had combat and experienced angelic support that saved their life. So I'm hoping you're like really out there taking care of people. And I think we need angelic help more than ever right now in our country and in the world.
Is it true that all you need to do is ask the angels for their help?
Well, that's what they told me, Rob. They told me that your call for angelic assistance was heard. And that's what I've been told. You ask them. Yes, you can ask them every day. You can thank them ahead of time. You can tell them all the things that you need and turn it over to them. Because, there's a synchronicity in the universe that picks it up. And when you put your thoughts and intentions out into the universe, then it triggers a response back. And the universe wants you to succeed. That is a law.
My wife came to me, I guess it was last Wednesday, and said, you know what? I don't know where my wedding band is with my sister's ring. And the sister's ring is braided gold. One color is yellow, the other is white, and the other is rose. And they're braided because there's three sisters. There's Laura, there's Pammy, and there's Darlene. And she said, I don't know where they are. I've lost them. Well, we tore the house upside down. We took everything inside out for 2 days. Both those days I was saying, please, angels, help. I need your help. Please, angels, please. I didn't want to, we went to the insurance company, and yes, they were going to cover it. We had to go down and get a police report. But I'm saying, I want those rings, because there's so much, so many memories tied to the rings. And you know what? I was let down. The angels never helped me. I never got a message. I really tried hard. Are there things they can help with and things they can't?
Well, you'd like to think they're miracle workers and they can help with everything, Rob. And they are, but, maybe your wife's not meant to find that ring. Or maybe it'll show up in a few days somewhere else.
I just hope that it shows up before the insurance settles, because I don't want to have to give them back either the ring or the money. Are children more susceptible to hearing angels than adults?
Children are more, yes, because they don't have that filter that we have. Mm-hmm. And the veil is very thin for children until they're about 7 or 8. They can have total recall of past lives.
Really?
And yes, they can see angels and talk to them, and extraterrestrials too. Because they don't have, this block against it.
Plus, I firmly believe that children, are just like what you said, and how they're perceptive, their intuition, and how they can communicate with those that we can't see or understand. And, then we do something called sending them to school, where they learn about a man that lives in a pumpkin with his wife, where there's a family that live in a shoe, and then the cow jumps over a moon, and then this, that, and the other thing. And then, There's Santa Claus, there's the Tooth Fairy, there's the Easter Bunny, and so on. And then we do something by yanking the carpet from under them, saying, we were only kidding, they're not real. And, I guess it's kind of a PTSD for kids when that happens to them, because their little worlds are just devastated.
And it's worse than that, because you actually shut off your child's connection to the divine. Mm-hmm. And which is what our society is about. The poisoned food, water, air, and chemicals that's in everything is designed to separate us from our connection to the divine, so that we can't remember, we can't hear, we can't receive messages. And that is kind of what they do. So it's up to us. I was just reading about it too. We're born with no memory, and children have that memory, and you can foster it in your children.
So is this something natural that happens, or is this something, and I'm talking about the blocking to the divine, that why does that happen? Is it something inherent within each of us?
Well, I think that blocking to the divine is a result of our society today. It's a result of the media. It's a result of the food we have. It's the poisons, the toxins, the lack of intimacy that people have. That all of that separates us from who we really are. And it used to be that educate, it wasn't all about rote memory, or, we're just going to train you to be a worker bee. But that is kind of what has been happening. Yes, definitely. They've done research on it. They can certainly do meditation in schools. If they did meditations in school, they'd have amazing results, with children getting better results and seeing how that can work.
Right.
They've done a lot of research on it. But they don't want humans to really have that awareness.
I would want my children to excel. I still want my children to have that connection with the Almighty or the divine power. I don't see anything wrong with it. In fact, I promote it. So what's the danger?
Well, because free-thinking people, people who can receive messages from the divine, who can hear their guides, who are self-motivated and self-learned, are not controllable.
It's a matter of control.
It's as simple as that. They're not controllable. If you've said no to things like this, and because you've had different guidance, you're not controllable.
So why is it then we go to church? Is it to try and reestablish that link?
Rob, we get down to, why were religions formed and church? And is church more of a control factor?
I think so.
Than really a way of connecting to the divine. So people go to church because either they've been trained to go to church. Some people find solace in the energy, because it is beautiful.
Oh, it is truly
very heartwarming, but it's not connected to the real source energy, I don't think.
So who's it connected to? Like for example, the church that I belong to is in Chambly, Quebec, St. Stephen's. It's an old garrison church on the Richelieu River. And my family's been going to that church for years upon years. Some of our kids were baptized there. Some of our kids have been married there. We have a burial plot. My mom, God bless, rest her soul, is interned in back. And whenever I go into that church, I feel at home. I feel that everyone in that congregation, it's not a super big congregation. It's like we're all family, church family. And I believe in the power of prayer. But is the power of prayer actually something else? in your opinion, what do we do when we pray and we get a group of people praying towards the same thing?
Well, first of all, a group of people praying towards the same thing raises that vibration of it and the frequency of it, so it actually becomes more elevated because many of us are thinking of that.
Right.
And the universe is programmed in a certain way that when enough of us ask for something that we want, it can be sent back to us. It can be manifested. So prayers often result in having prayers answered in many ways because that intention's gone really strongly out into the universe. Does it happen all the time? No. But honestly, prayers do work.
And I guess that's the old saying, if you confess it, you will possess it.
Possibly.
You and I are going to have to take our commercial break in about a minute from now. When we come back, I'd like to talk to you more about intuition and how intuition works and how people can learn about intuition for themselves. Is it just a matter of opening our eyes, opening the way we feel? And meditation apparently is a big part of everything, which raises another question. Can we actually say that silent prayer may be a form of meditation? Food for thought.
Absolutely.
Exonation, Joan of Angels is my guest. www.joanofangels.com. This is the X Zone. I am Rob McConnell, coming to you from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. I'll be back as we continue listening to a song that I wrote called He Held a Phone. It's all about Alex Preddy. We'll be back. Don't go away.
In the bitter Minneapolis cold, where snow and winter meet, Alex Preddy walked with open hands to stand beside the weak. A nurse who spent his life to help care for those in need. Not a soldier, not a threat, just trying to do good deeds. They called him names, they made their claims before the truth was known. But when the camera's on his side, Alex Preddy held a phone. He held a phone, not a gun, and just with every breath he drew, he meant to help, to calm the fear, not start a fight he never knew. They shot him down in daylight's glare, and now the streets won't rest, for Alex Preddy's life was lost and justice.
In the silence of the night where shadows softly play, a voice emerges gently guiding minds astray. Rob McConnell calls to us from a realm unseen. The X Zone beckons softly where dreams blend with the keen. With lies, he crafts a tapestry of stories beneath an endless sky. In over 35 years of tales that twist and turn, each word a flicker sparking fires, igniting hearts that yearn. Dare to believe he softly pleads in this place divine, where fact is just a mirror and reality unwinds. In the X Zone, oh, we dare to dream through ethereal.
Joan of Angels is my special guest. www.joanofangels.com is her website. Tell me about intuition. How important or how does intuition play in our day-to-day life, whether we know it or not?
So intuition is critical,
Okay.
and it's one of the most important superpowers that you have. And it is a key to the path that you can walk on. It's usually, your intuition is usually heart-centered. When you hear it, you should listen to it. That's all I can say. It's very opposed to your logical mind, But they have done research to find out that people who listen to their intuition actually make better choices than people who follow their logical, quote, scientific mind. And that's because you're receiving information directly from consciousness, from that state of conscious awareness that's even outside of ourselves. You're receiving that.
I believe in intuition. When I was young, I called it that gut feeling. And as a police officer, it came in very handy many times. I remember one time where it was about 4 o'clock in the morning and we were on patrol. And this car, just something wasn't right with it. And I got behind it and my partner says, "What are you doing? He hasn't done anything wrong." I said, "Trust me." So we pulled him over. Real nice gentleman. Very nice guy, and he gave us the driver's license registration. We ran it. Everything was okay. And I said, "Well, what are you doing in town at this hour?" He says, "Well, I'm a vacuum cleaner salesman, and we're looking to open a branch office in your community." And I said, "At 4 o'clock in the morning?" He said, "Yes, really." I said, "Would you mind opening up your trunk for us?" He said, "Certainly, officer, no problem." And he had vacuum cleaners in his trunk. And I said, "Now, would you mind if we took a look at the vacuum cleaners in the boxes?" He said, "No, of course not." Well, I opened up this box, and there was a vacuum cleaner. And as I went to take the vacuum cleaner out of the box, he started to turn white. And I opened up the canister, and it was filled with drugs. So we opened up the remaining 9 vacuum cleaners, and they were all the same. So that was my gut telling me, hey, something was wrong with that,
Yep, that's exactly what happens now. So what I have discovered is that trusting your gut, especially women, have somehow trouble really trusting their intuition. And many people do. And so I really teach people how you can learn to trust that intuition every time. Because so for instance, years ago, 2013, before the incident with my painting, I went to the accountant, paid my taxes, he did all my taxes, and he sent them up to the IRS, and he hands me a stack of 3 tax returns, for my copies. And I go to my car, it's a rental car. I go to open the trunk. I hear a voice, Rob, that says, "Don't put your tax returns in the trunk." I look around, I'm going, that's crazy. Why? It says, swear to God, it's a true story. The trunk is going to open and they'll fly out. And I said, that's insane. And I did it anyway. And sure enough, Rob, I stopped short at a red light. The trunk opened. The tax returns flew out. I get a phone call 3 days later from an LA city worker who has my daughter's Social Security number.
Oh, my heavens.
Yeah. So I've had many experiences where I hear that voice, and I have learned, and I teach all my clients this now, to track the messages you're getting. In fact, all of you listening tonight, right now, think about one time where you listened to your intuition and how it turned out. And then think about a time when you didn't listen to your intuition and how disastrous it might have been. Because you're receiving message from like your angels, and they know what's good for you. And so that intuition, Rob, is what helped me become a chiropractor. I heard a voice one night said, "Go to chiropractic school." I heard a voice one day that said, "Don't drive your kids down to Disneyland." And sure enough, they were right, because there was a mudslide a few hours later at my house, and thank God I was there. So learning to listen and trust to your intuition can help you in business, in your relationships, in your personal life, your health, and your wealth. Your gut will tell you whether you better sell that investment or keep it.
How hard is it for you to teach people how to use their intuition?
I love teaching people how to use their intuition. I have a class coming up next month on clarity, intuition, and strategies, how to create strategies for yourself, how to step out of when you have a decision, often it suddenly becomes very painful. You're trying to decide between A and B and A and B. Oh my God, this, and this. And you start to spin. The best approach, if you're really facing major decisions, is to step back and to really take a break and then to start to look at it objectively and look at the basis of your decisions. Is this about who I am? Because see, your intuition is connected to your soul purpose, your soul mission. And it will give you messages to align you, body, mind, and spirit, with the highest version of yourself if you just give it a chance. Now, I had trouble years ago listening to my intuition because I wanted to do it my own way. And I'll never forget when I moved to the desert in 2015, I went to a yoga festival here. And I sit down with a palm reader. He's looking at my palm. And he says to me, you know, you were supposed to be famous already by now, don't you? And first of all, no one's ever said that to me. You were supposed to be famous and you blew it, which is what he said. But when I traced it back, I did blow it because I didn't listen to the voice within.
Oh, wow.
He did say it will happen again.
And here you are.
And here I am on Rob McConnell's show, the X Zone. Yes.
Oh, my heavens. Thank you for the compliment. Like angels are good. The messages we get are there to help us. But is it possible that there are negative entities or forces out there that give us, they misguide us, they steer us in the wrong direction? And how can we differentiate between the voices of the good to those who are not good and who have other plans in store for us?
Well, those who have nefarious intentions, usually you can pick them up. So if you're receiving a message and it's to do something like go rob a bank or, beat up that little old lady down the street, and that's like not your usual kind of thing that you do.
Right.
And you get that feeling of anxiety because it's not you. So, you get messages all the time. And the key factor is, does this align with myself, with my soul work? I don't get bad messages to do bad things to people.
Right.
But that's because I don't hear them, I guess. I don't know. But the key is in the vibrational frequency of what you're being told.
How can you raise your vibrations?
Well, you can raise your vibrations by positive thinking, by meditation, by jogging, by engaging in things that make you feel good, like things that, your art.
Right.
Like for me, it's art. Or Rob, I see your music. Those are things that raise your vibration when we have happiness and joy. So if you can get to happiness and joy, then you've raised your frequency a lot. So those are some of the things that can do it. Just even sitting at night or in the morning and writing down in your journal and kind of looking at the trends can help you. Looking at times where you listened to your intuition and you didn't listen to your intuition can help you evaluate where you're going. But understand that your angels want to help you. But there's also, nefarious energies upon the planet that are an opposing force that don't want you to hear. So they will send you a message to get you off your track. Oh yeah, go out into the bar tonight, Joan, instead of getting on the call with Rob. Go get drunk or go do this or, go hang out over there. And it's up to us to make that choice. I chose to hang out with Rob tonight. I thought it was a better choice, frankly, for me. But that's how it settles in. We're all, you have to decide if this is for your highest good or not.
How do people react when their eyes are open, their ears are open, their hearts are opened, and they realize that, you know what, I'm getting these messages, and I know they're real now, and I know that what I call intuition could be coming from angels. That must be a wonderful feeling for people who've never had it before.
Well, it is. It is. I think people are always receiving messages, all of you out there. It's just a matter of whether you're listening. And a message could come through on the radio. It could be a song. That's the answer to your prayer right then and there. Or it could be that truck. Angel trucks drive by me all the time. Whenever I have a question, a truck comes by, says it's a miracle made or an angel made, all the time. So you look for patterns in how you get messages.
And I would imagine that messages can also come to you in your dreams.
Yes, they can. Very often. And that's why it's also recommended you write down your dreams when you wake up in the morning, if you really want to track what's going on for you energetically.
Exonation, Joan of Angels is my guest, and we have to take our final break for this hour. So when we come back, more angel talk, and we'll ask Joan some interesting questions. Like, I want to know about some of the strange, weird, or bizarre things that have come from angels that you kind of thought were way off whack that turned out to be true. Exonation, Joan and I return as the X Zone continues with yours truly, Rob McConnell, from our broadcast center and studios in St. Catharines, Ontario, Canada. And you're listening to us live and around the world on the Talkstar Radio Network, Mutual Broadcast Network, X Zone Broadcast Network, and on your hometown radio, Classic 1220, CFAJ AM, streaming at classic1220.ca. Don't go away.
So beckon softly, where dreams blend with the keen. With lies, he crafts a tapestry of stories beneath an endless sky. And over 35 years of tales that twist and turn, each word a flicker sparking fires, igniting hearts that yearn. Dare to believe he softly pleads in this place divine, where fact is just a mirror and reality unwinds. In the X Zone, oh, we dare to dream through it.
Down in Thorold, where the cold winds weep, there's a tunnel where the dead don't sleep, built of stone and sorrow's tears. It's whispered through the haunted years. Limestone walls, damp and gray, hold the cries that won't decay. Strike a match when the clock hits 12, and light what darkness dares to tell.
And also,
And welcome back to the X Zone. I'm Rob McConnell. Our guest this hour is Joan of Angels. Her website is joanofangels.com. Hey, Joan, you were just about to say something.
I know, I completely forgot that I'm executive producer of the New Living Expo, which is a big thing coming up next month. It was one of the largest consciousness raising events.
Wow.
It's been in existence for 30 years and has a new owner, Portal to Ascension, and I've been the executive producer of it.
So what happens with this?
We have like 120 amazing speakers over 3 days, April 17th to the 19th.
And where does this take place?
In Marin County, San Rafael, California.
Wow.
And a lot of everyone's favorite speakers are going to be there, like Billy Carson, Elizabeth April, Vivienne Chauvet, Debbie Solaris,
My gosh.
Sasha Stone.
A lot of great names.
A lot of great names. Joan of Angels.
I've heard of her. Pretty cool lady.
So we're putting out an invite, guys. If you feel like, it's going to be a great event, and Portal to Ascension's running it.
What's the website?
newlivingexpo.com.
There you go. That sounds like a plan. I wish I could come down and be with you guys. I'd have a blast.
Oh, you would. Yeah. You'd love it, Rob.
what is the soul? Let's talk about the soul. How would you describe what the soul is?
Oh my gosh, no one's ever asked me about what the soul really is. The soul is that part of you
Mm-hmm.
that is connected to a higher vibrational frequency, connected to the divine, connected to the angelic realms, God himself. So the soul is that part of you that resides throughout all your lifetimes, and it holds the essence of, of the qualities of who you are and the themes of what your lifetimes may have.
So, does each soul have a purpose?
Yeah, well, each soul on this planet does have a purpose, does have a mission of why you're down here, but not everyone knows how to access that.
And how do we access it?
Well, you call Joan of Angels, but you access it. There's tools, there's ways that you can. Sometimes if you're feeling lost, all you have to do is start thinking about the things you love to do as a child, the gifts that you have, your intuitive gifts,
Right.
your all of the kind of person you are, whether you're kind or compassionate or tough or passionate or radical. So I have my clients take a big poster board, put themselves in the center, and start putting down all around all the different qualities, things people have told you about, things you like to do,
Right.
things that are your skill set. And it starts to give you a composite of what you're here to do. But the first thing we're all here to do, Rob, is wake up. And that is not an easy thing. So we start to remember your lifetimes and remember who you are. Because when we're born, our memories are wiped clean. We have no remembrance of the last lifetime. And part of this ascension process on the planet has to do with the return of those memories. So you can see the continuation of your evolution here on the planet.
Is the soul the very essence of who we are? Could we say that the soul is like our life force?
It is our life force. Okay. Yes. It's our vitality and our vital life. And it holds like our blueprint of who we are.
So when someone dies, the soul leaves the meat suit, and where does it go from there?
Well, this whole thing and all this new research on consciousness and the soul and what happens after death is quite profound. Yes, the soul leaves the body. Science has proved that the body is lighter and that the soul literally leaves, and people have seen it. So where does it go? It goes into another dimensional frequency, is what I think. It goes to a different dimension where souls who have left their body go.
But what about reincarnation? Where does reincarnation come into this entire consciousness aspect?
Oh, I think it's a plot here on the planet. It is a very interesting thing. We get recycled back over and over and over again until we learn certain lessons. And those lessons are all about aligning body, mind, and spirit to actually live this soul purpose that no one has told you what it is. You have to figure it out. You don't get to leave here until you have figured it out.
Okay, so it takes a number of lifetimes to figure it out. Finally, you get the aha moment. Where do you go from here?
Well, you have your aha moment. I think you either go to a heaven or a hell. However, it's really controversial more these days. I can't, because people also are reporting, well, you live in hell. Some people on our planet are actually living in a hell.
Now we
right
won't,
here on the planet.
Now we won't talk about President Trump this hour.
Well, and other people are living in a heaven. All right.
Yeah, okay. I love how you did that.
So we can live in both realms. But and many people have come back from near-death experiences.
Yeah.
And have described it. My mom described her experience to me. Joan, my body had no pain. There was a light. My mom knew nothing about near-death experience or consciousness or reincarnation. That was not her thing. So none of this meant, this wasn't her mind making it up. But yeah, they were there. She went through this tunnel. There was like a godlike form, an angel. They said, "Are you ready?" And she said, "No." And they sent her back immediately. The moment she said no, she was back in her body. All her pain returned. But there was a really joyful feeling that she had to know that when she died, there was something there.
A number of the people that I've had the opportunity of speaking to who have had near-death experiences all no longer fear death.
Right.
They look forward to that time when they leave this reality and they go on to where they went during their their near-death experience.
Yes. And I understand that. There's really nothing to be afraid of with death. I had this vision one night, right before I was going on my show. And I was in the bathroom putting on makeup, and suddenly I saw myself in this other dressing room, like changing clothes and being dressed into the clothing I was going to wear as I left my body. It was quite interesting. It was like, oh my God, that's all death is like you drop this body, you get a new one, or you get a new something.
Yeah.
It's like being in a dressing room.
My wife, who was a nurse before she retired, shared with myself and other members of the hospital where she worked. We went out for supper, and the topic of near death came up, and the stories that are told by the medical profession, those who have how did they say it? They were blessed to be with the person at their time of passing. You know, they talk about how people at the time of passing can see their relatives that are waiting for them on the other side. Their little animals that they've had throughout their year are anxiously waiting for them to cross and come through the veil. And it totally puts a different fix on the negative connotation that we have of death. Except the Irish, they celebrate the life of the person when they die. You know?
Well, that's a good thing to do. You know, when my mom was dying of lung cancer, she lived with me, and every morning I had to go in and give her a morphine shot.
Right.
Because she was in that much pain. And I'd walk in, and she'd go, Joni, I was just at this great party. They were all waiting for me. You know, her grandma, her grandpa, her brother, all of her family. She said they're like just waiting for me. They're calling me. They're playing music. And every morning she felt like she was getting closer and closer and closer to going. And she wanted, at that point, they really want to go and be with their family.
By the way, do you know what the difference between an Irish wake and an Irish wedding is?
No.
One less drunk. There you go. The time is coming very shortly when you and I must say so long for tonight. But quickly again, give me the information on that Consciousness Expo that you're the executive.
It's a great conference, New Living Expo. It's April 17th to the 19th. All of your favorite speakers are going to be there. We have a full house coming. www.newlivingexpo.com.
Do me a favor, send me some information on that, and I'll send it out to the people and the listeners of the X Zone radio show. I think it would do a lot of good for a lot of people.
Oh, beautiful. And if you come to the expo because you heard me on Rob, just come up and tell me when you see me.
And, of course, you'll be able to tell Joan she's the one with the halo and the wings.
Yes. Yeah. I'll be flying around that expo.
We've got about a minute and a half. What is what message would you like to leave with the X Zone Nation tonight?
You know, you all came here for a purpose and a reason, and this time is now. This is why we've all come. This is the most critical time in our planetary history, I think. And this is the time for you to actually step up and start to listen to those messages and step into the path that you came here to do, because we're all needed now. And I work with people for 45 years. I've been helping people step into their best version of themselves who they are and what they do. And if you have any issues, just reach out to me. I will help you step into that because you are needed now.
Thank you so much for joining us, Joan. Always a great pleasure, and I can't wait until you come back and join us again to share your experiences, your love for angels. So until then, my friend, be well, and blessings to you and your angels.
Thank you so much, Rob. Bye to all of you. Thank you all.
Good night, Joan. Well, that's it for tonight, Exo Nation. I'll be back tomorrow night at 10 o'clock as once again we cross the time-space continuum to this place that I call the X-Zone, a place where people dare to believe and dare to be heard, a place where fact is fiction and fiction is reality, Monday through Friday from 10 p.m. Eastern until 1 a.m. here on the X-Zone Broadcast Network, our other affiliates around the world, and of course, on your hometown radio, Classic 1220 CFAJ AM, right here in St. Catharines, streaming us around the world on classic1220.ca. So until tomorrow night, my friends, always remember to keep your eyes to the sky and your heart in the light. Good night, everyone.
Stone and sorrow's tears, it's whispered through